Good morning, everyone. Well, good morning to me, who's based in South Africa. Good afternoon to William, who's based in Hong Kong. Welcome to our second edition of our Traveler series. I'm so excited for this one today. This is William, my new bestie that I met when I was on tour in Uganda in December. We obviously got to see some gorillas. William was able to do the one-day Rwanda tour, which was really nice. He left really early in the morning and came back in the afternoon. And he's got so much to share. He's so inspirational. And I'm sure he's super eager to chat to all of you. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. And I hope that you enjoyed. William, will you please just give us a short introduction to yourself?
Absolutely. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you, Mishka, for putting this together. It's a really great, opportunity to share my insights and to, if there's any information that I can share along the way that would inspire someone to visit the continent of Africa, then you know what, I feel like I've done my job. So again, my name is William. I'm in Hong Kong right now, and it's about 3 p.m. here, and it's wintertime, and surprisingly, we're having a sunny, warm day. So surprise, surprise, this is Hong Kong.
That's amazing. At least you can sit in a t-shirt and still be okay in Hong Kong. So that's good. You just got back from Japan. How was it?
I did. I was there for over the Lunar New Year, and it was absolutely wonderful. I went skiing, and I got to just experience like this wonderful, experience being up in the mountains, powdery, soft, beautiful snow. The people are always wonderful, and of course, great food. I mean, I could just go on and on and on. I feel very fortunate that, in addition to experiencing the natural part of Japan, I also divided my trip into another portion where I had to visit Tokyo Disneyland and the new Disney park, Disney Sea. So I got to do a little bit of like the natural, wonderful stuff, and then the other wonderful stuff, but a little more, of course, of the modern stuff.
So awesome, and I'm sure that really was your thing, because I know how much you love Disney. I know that you're a Disney kid at heart. That is who you are.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's amazing. I mean, I'm sure you had an amazing time. Thank you for sharing your pictures with me of you on the slopes. You look like you are really killing it. You are very fit anyway, so I do know that you're going to be fine. Speaking of fit, obviously we did the gorilla trekking when we were in Uganda. How did you find it? What was when you were in that moment with the gorillas? How was it? Let's just get into the most amazing thing.
Sure. I continually get asked that question about what was that feeling like when I finally got to see and experience, the gorillas. And interestingly enough, I had done some research before I had gone. Actually, it was the information that the company sent out to tell me that, that humans and gorillas are 98%, similar. The DNA
Yes.
is 98% similar. And so, of course, that is very moving in itself, when you think about how closely related we are. And then, of course, it also made me think about all the things that I had learned as a child about how we are very similar. But when you are right next to them, like literally, 2 meters away, and in some cases even closer, because in some cases, they do come up to you. You look into their eyes and you look at their faces, you look at their hands and their body structure, and that's when it really, really hits you that, yes, we are very, very similar. And it's just a very profound experience, and something that I just cannot get out of my mind nor my heart.
I'm sure you've managed to share that with everybody who's asked, and I know you'll continue to share it because it is such an important experience to have. But it's really good from a conservation point of view, us doing this trek and paying for our gorilla permits and actually being there in their own habitat. It's so good for people to understand what an impact human beings can actually do to make their lives better. And I'm sure that you've actually shared this with your kids as well at school, because you're a teacher.
I sure have. I share this with my students, and I continue to do that because, just because I've been back, at this point, I've been back about a month, and you know, questions arise from students all the time. And yes, to tell them and to explain to them that, by helping them, we help ourselves, that, that the efforts that the government is doing by providing, very strict regulation, in providing permits, and then how people are to view them, wearing masks for protection and whatnot. And all those efforts are, have universal value. And again, it all really, kind of, circles around the same thing, which about what I just said, where, by helping them, we help each other, and we help all of us.
Yes, of course. And I think that that is just one of the things that touch my heart so much, is that you're helping the smaller communities too. I mean, whether you get yourself a porter or you don't get yourself a porter, or you buy a face mask from there, or you buy your gloves when you're doing your trek from the actual center, it makes a big difference. It may be small, somebody might see it as really minute, but small differences can go a long way.
Absolutely. I love the way the government has looked at the big, like, sort of holistic picture and thought, okay, so, here's a way that we can have, the local people that, out of no fault of theirs, they were, they were in some cases poaching the guerrillas.
Yes.
For their sake, for their own, sustainability. But then the government, turns around and said, comes up with this great plan. Why don't we just all work together? You're great at navigating the forests and the jungles, and you know how to access the guerrillas in a safe manner without harming them. And we can bring people into the jungles to see them. And, it's like everyone benefits. And it's about, again, sustainability. It's, instead of destroying this wonderful, these wonderful organisms, instead we're saving them. And it's something that is perpetual.
It is. It's really just so beautiful. It just continues on as you get to go through Uganda and Rwanda, because obviously we also saw that same conservation efforts and education happening when we went and we saw the chimps, or when we did the rhino walk as well. That was amazing. Imagine having your first day on tour and you do a rhino walk. Was one of my favorite things. What was one of your favorite things that you had done while on tour?
Oh my goodness! Well, I still definitely believe that the visit to the gorillas was something that just cannot escape me. But I do have to agree that visiting Rwanda is definitely an experience that I will not forget. Only because it's something that it's very, very powerful. It's deeply saddening, on one side, because of the genocide that happened in 1999. Where almost 1 million Tutsis were murdered, but so you're going from that sadness, that deep sadness, and then you start moving, the country's moving towards this other section where they are embracing forgiveness and reconciliation. And so they're moving forward, and the country is developing, and the people are happy, and the country's very clean, as you know. I mean, it's one of their big initiatives, is to have a very, very clean country where people are encouraged to come and visit, not just for the cleanliness, but then of course for all the other wonderful, touristic, avenues that they offer. So it's a very, very interesting country. Lots of history, and like I said, lots of sadness, but then also filled with lots of hope and moving forward into the future.
And I think that that's really wonderful. I got that sense. I didn't get to do the Rwanda tour, obviously, because the day that you guys went for it, I was on the trek. But I got a sense of it, obviously, when you guys explained to me how much fun you had, and also like the deep sadness of visiting the genocide memorial and things like that. And I can obviously understand how that can resonate with somebody, especially somebody yourself who, your goal this year was to just become a good person, because you had done a personality test and you had 3% badness and you wanted to rid yourself of your badness scale and be a good person. And how do you filter that into the rest of your life and the people that you impact? Because you are dealing with a lot of young minds every time that you step out into your workday. You run different meetups where you go on hikes and canoeing and stuff like that with various strangers, some people you do know. How do you share that goodness with other people and hope that you impact everybody else as well?
Well, I am very, very active, not just in my work, in my work, but also in my social outlets as well. Like you mentioned, I do have a meetup group where I do organize outdoor activities where it's just hiking, kayaking, and cycling, and it's every single weekend. And I've been doing this for several years. And I find that the connection between that and my work, it's, of course, having balance. I go to work and I love what I'm doing, and I'm sharing, everything that I do, whether it's my traveling, my outdoor experience through my meetup group. With my students, I'm sharing all of that. It's going back and forth, back and forth. Surprisingly enough, even when I'm in my meetup group and I'm hiking or I'm kayaking or cycling, I'm able to share, my travel experiences as well as some of my experiences with my students, with my outdoor group. I think it's a very symbiotic relationship where everything gets shared. It's about disseminating information about the world and how we're more closely related than really different, so and it doesn't matter where, like I do work with young children that are between they're 7 and 8 years old, and then of course my outdoor group are people that vary in ages from 20 to 50 something years old.
Yes.
But yeah, and it's just nice that we can share ideas and things about my work as an educator and my travels and then what it means to be out in nature, exercising, being social, and yeah, just doing all these healthy, wonderful things. I think there's a connection with all of that.
Yeah, for sure. And it's nice to see. I've adapted after chatting to you and spending all of this time on the truck. I mean, you spent 8 days with me on a truck. So I adapted a lot of things that you have taught me, just about life in general, about staying active, even if it's a little bit of activity. And you never know how just meeting a random person on tour is going to impact your life. And I think that was so nice. What was so nice about our group is that by the end of it, all of us were so close friends that none of us wanted to leave. And I think that's one of my favorite things. Speaking of the group and the tour, are you still in contact with anybody from the tour? Are you still chatting with anybody? Besides me, of course, because you chat every day.
Yes. Well, yes, you're right. I think that so I continue to have, of course, a wonderful conversation and building our friendship. I think that's just invaluable. But I don't know if you remember Jelle, the gentleman from Belgium.
From Belgium.
So he and I have connected on Instagram and Facebook, and also on WhatsApp. And then I don't know if you remember the two women from Slovenia. I have connected with the two ladies there. They have reached out to me and asked me for travel ideas. And then also the other couple from Canada, his name was Jess, and yes, and Jessica. Yes, the two of them. We have shared information, music ideas, and music bands. We've also shared travel experiences, and so yes, I'm really, really happy that out of this group that came together from different parts of the world, we came together, and we forged a friendship. And I think that, through some nurturing along the way, I think that this will, this could have some, impact that could go on for a lot longer. So I'm really looking forward to that.
That's awesome. I mean, I still chat to them now and then, but of course, with like my busy schedule, sometimes I forget to respond. I'm so bad on WhatsApp. Like me trying to get a response from me is so difficult. Pop me an email. You're probably going to get quicker response. And basically, also from the tour, what surprised you the most about Uganda and Rwanda? Like what surprised you and like really like you didn't expect to see something like that?
My situation is a little bit unique in that, like over 14 years ago, I actually had the opportunity to work and teach in Kenya and in Tanzania. And so I already had that experience of living and working in those two countries. And then over the years, I traveled to Zimbabwe and Zambia, South Africa. Of course, I went to Northern Africa, to Egypt, and then, of course, Morocco and Tunisia. I've had those experiences, but I think that, what continues to surprise me about the continent of Africa is that it's huge. It's huge, and I can see how people find it very annoying when you are from the continent of Africa and someone just says, Africa, like, oh, I've been to Africa. Well, where? I believe there are 42 countries, if not more than that. So for me, visiting Uganda and Rwanda, to me, it was still mesmerizing, and it was still a very new experience because each country is so different from the other. I loved how green and lush. I can't believe I was standing in this one location where you could see 3 countries from the Congo, Rwanda, and of course, we were in Uganda. You could see all 3 of them, and you could see these 4 mountain ranges right there in one spot. And so for me, I think that that's really powerful. And the other thing that's also really powerful for me, and something that you just can't fathom, is the impact of the Nile River, and how it's really an amalgamation of, like, I believe 2 or 3 different rivers that merge and form one larger river that then spills out into the Mediterranean from Egypt. But again, it's just all so very fascinating. All that is just very fascinating.
And as you've mentioned, all of the countries that you've seen some of the countries that you've managed to see in Africa, you've obviously traveled to just over 90 countries so far. Am I right? Was it at 93 when I last saw you?
It's about 93. Yes, definitely. I've been very, very lucky that even before, so I've been very lucky because, I've been able to work in different countries around the world. And then because of my work, I've been able to focus my travels, in that wherever my job is located. So I've been very fortunate because of that. But, to be honest, it actually started even before that. Just, a guy that grew up in Washington State, that was me. And, sure, I traveled into Canada. Sure, I traveled into Mexico, but that was really the extent for my younger years. And then it just took one trip outside of, North America to really, open my eyes and to, just, fill my heart with, just a lot of curiosity about the world. And I've never stopped. I've just kept going.
I think that also is a real testament to almost what you try and teach your students, is that you can never stop learning. Doesn't matter how old or how young you are. There's so much to see and so much to learn about that you should actually just always try and get out there,
It's so true. And, similar to like what you're just saying, and like really what I strive to do is to let my students know about the world and how it's big, it's wondrous, and it's about the people and geography and the organisms, and food and dance and religion and I could just go on and on and on about all the things that it is, because it's not just one thing, it's about a lot of things. And so I want, it's very important for my students to know that there's much more outside their window than what they're seeing. Like, just, go to the next, take it to the next level, go outside of your neighborhood, go outside of your city, go outside of your state, province, country, continent, and then just keep exploring. And if anything, I also want them to know that, as humans, we may be small, but we also can do such great, wonderful things. We can climb mountains. We can, we can swim across, a lake or a river. We can paddle, we can cycle, we can run. There's so many things that we can do. And that, again, we may be small, but there are things that we can do. And it's just about, one step at a time, or one paddle at a time, or whatever it means to the other side.
I love that. And I just want to touch on a thing that I think that you and, like, if you had to meet our CEO, Andrew, I think the two of you would get along like a house on fire. You'll have very similar personalities. But there's something that he believes in, and it's that this form of travel, overland travel, which we've just done now, allows you to step outside of your life. And I think that this is also something that you may agree with. Can you touch on what your thoughts are on that?
I agree. I think that definitely traveling and does allow you an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone. You know what? I had never camped anywhere on the continent of Africa. I've camped in other places in the world, but never in a location where I was so close to nature. And it was an opportunity to really be immersed in nature and enjoy the natural wildlife that I was immersed in. And so that definitely takes, an opportunity to step outside of your comfort zone. And I felt comfortable and I felt safe because of the direction and the management and the organization from the company that enabled me to really want to step out of my comfort zone. So I enjoyed it very much. And I also believe too that we have this responsibility too, that if we do want to open ourselves to learn more, then it's about taking little incremental steps to put ourselves out there. And so I know that for some people that might be difficult, and we encountered individuals in our group that were more likely to step outside of their comfort zones than others. I can honestly say that everyone did at a level where they felt comfortable, and no one was ever pressured or made to feel that they had to or extend themselves beyond their comfort level. The opportunities were there, and that's what I love so much about it.
I like that too, that as much as I was also camping at first, because I had to try the tent out for myself. I couldn't just be low princess that I usually am and stay in a lodge. So I had to step out of my comfort zone and sleep in a tent. And I had done it for the first 3 nights up until I got sick, as you know. But the nice thing about it is that everybody is so helpful. I think on the first 2 nights, Yella basically put up my tent for me. And I was just like watching him in awe because he was so quick. The way he would help everybody with their tents was actually wild. And by the end of it, it was just so nice to see that everybody really and truly enjoyed themselves, no matter what point they had been in their day. There was a girl who lost her luggage, remember? The 2 ladies from Switzerland.
You're right.
Didn't have the entire tour.
Yes.
And not once did it let them it didn't phase them at all. And I think that that's also something that you really need to think of when you are on a overland tour, for example, is that there are some things that may go wrong. You may get sick. so carry lots of vitamins. You may find that your luggage gets lost because you had a layover, or you may get stuck on the side of the road on a very hot day and you might have to help with fixing the truck. And at the end of the day, things may happen, but you will still have so much of fun. Like when the truck got stuck on that incline, remember?
Yes.
And
I do remember.
you were there with your spanner. You did really well with your spanner. I was like, I would so expect people to get really frustrated by this and be like, oh, we've spent so many hours on the road today. It's been hot. The weather's not been great. And now we're stuck on the road. But not a single person complained. And I think that is so important, to just be in the moment and just have fun with it, no matter the obstacles that you're facing.
I agree with you. And, I distinctly remember reading a section in the, I think it's, I don't remember the name of the document. You probably remember because you probably had some input in composing it. And it had something to do with pre-preparation expectations or something like that. Before,
like a pre-departure document.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there was a section in there, to expect the unexpected and to really be open, to open not just your mind, but your heart. I remember reading about how, at least it didn't exactly say this particular part, but you can, that it's written in there about, being proactive versus reactive. And you're right. I think that the people that definitely take the time to, and obviously our group did, because they took the time to really, really read into that document. And then, of course, they already had it within themselves. These people were very, very proactive at the whole time that we were together. And you're right, from the time that the vehicle had the overheating issue, which was resolved, and then sometimes we can't get certain foods, but we make it work. And it was this real team effort, and where someone is maybe operating like at 40% and someone's a little bit higher, we just kind of just compensate and just help each other out. And that was really, really a lovely opportunity to see and experience.
It was. The other thing that I also wanted to touch on, because obviously we as African Overland Tours, we send you a packing list, but you had added a couple of extra things. And I think that from your travels and constantly traveling, you have developed the sense of just knowing what to pack. And like you have these certain hacks that I obviously didn't think of. So like the hack that you had told me is in the morning, when we get back into the truck, just take your towel and just hang it on the back and let it dry, because everybody's windows are open. It's going to dry in a couple of minutes. You're going to be fine, and then you can take it down. And then you also have this really cool mosquito net, which I think I'm going to get a link from you of it and then put it in the description after the webinar. But that mosquito net was probably like life-changing. Are there any other tips and tricks or, essential gear that you would think that you would recommend to somebody else who's going on an overland tour soon, or if you're recommending an overland tour to somebody else?
Sure. Yes. I think you're right. I mean, like the towel idea, hanging it, letting it dry in the vehicle. Yes. Priceless, right? I mean, who doesn't want a dry, towel? I mean, come on. So that was a wonderful tip, that worked out really well. The tent net that went over my sleeping bag, hands down, probably one of the best purchases I had made. And it gave me the peace of mind while I was sleeping to be protected within this sort of like this shield over my sleeping bag. But really, again, it was just it's just a personal thing. It's not necessarily required, but it's just it was a wonderful thing to have, and I loved it. So I think if anything, it's I don't want to say if I do this again, but rather when I do this again. That's really what I want to say.
That's what I like to hear.
Yeah, right. What I would definitely bring a little small lantern to hang in the middle of my tent in the center of it, so that I can have a sort of like a nice, amount of lighting in the tent in the
Mhm.
evenings when you just go into your tent and just have some quiet time, but maybe you want to read, and the light from your phone, a flashlight, those even the headlamp, they work, but to have something illuminating from up above would just be an ideal thing. And I don't think it would add that much more weight or space to your luggage, but I think that would be a very handy thing to bring. The other tips that I recommend is the moment you arrive in a location to set up your tent, if you are camping outside, is the moment you arrive, start setting up your tent. Set it up during the daytime, and also
Mhm.
prepare inside so that you know where your sleeping bag is going to be. You have your essentials laid out there, because it will start to get dark depending on the time of the year. And when we went, of course, it got dark earlier, so we needed to make sure that we were prepared for that. And then right after you set up your tent, go take your shower, because there's nothing like taking a shower when there is actual daylight
Yes,
versus you're having to take a shower
in the
in
dark.
the dark, which is something that happened to me, but I learned very, very quickly. And then probably the only other thing is, it's not a physical thing that you need to bring with you, like, the little lantern, or the sleeping bag net, or the towel it's not a physical thing, but rather it's something that you bring with you with you in your mind, in your heart. And that is, the moment you arrive, really, you know just extend yourself and meet the people that you're going to be with, because you could extend a hand, and then they'll extend a hand back, and it just starts building that rapport and that wonderful bond that you're going to depend on each other for a number of days. So immediately start building that, so that when it's not something you bring with you, it's something that you have within you.
Oh, that's amazing. This is why I love you so much. Like, you just have so much great insight. I could talk to you for hours. We actually have a question, which is actually from
Okay.
Lee. You should know her. She was actually your consultant who assisted you with your booking. So she was supposed to be with us in the webinar, but they are kind of swamped at the moment. And her question is, well, she started off by saying, this is an amazing webinar. Can you explain the feelings and emotions you had when seeing the gorillas for the first time? And did you find the actual trek a challenge?
Okay, so the trek itself, there were several opportunities at the time when the group arrived, and it's a very small group. So it's a larger group that's split up into smaller groups, like smaller pods, if you will, that go into the trek and into the jungle. Now, I did find that my trekking through the jungle had some challenges. But I never felt a sense of danger, or I always felt that there was a way to navigate through the jungle to reach the gorillas.
Mhm.
I found that the guides and and there's several of the guides, whether they're the ones that work for the national park or the people that work in the community that are also in sort of partnership with the guides. I felt that everyone was helping us to navigate, and if they were holding your hand if you needed to hold someone's hand. They provided walking sticks to help you along the way and keep your balance. They were very, very informative to let you know about the jungle and where we were going and what to expect. So I had all of that in my mind, and so I appreciated all of that, and luckily for me, because I do a lot of hiking, it was good, and it was a nice challenge for myself. There were some people that were not as at the same sort of level, I guess, as I was. But you know what? We helped each other, and that was that. You know, I will never forget that. We helped each other get to where we needed to go to see the gorillas. And you know what? That's just priceless. It's just all of us working together for this common, you know, goal. And I love that. And then of course seeing the gorillas for the first time, it was from a great distance. And seeing them from a great distance at first, the first initial sighting of them was deeply moving. And you know, I must say, in my mind, I just had no idea how large they were. And then as they kept getting closer, you know, you start to really see like how closely related we are, but then also just how large and beautiful and wondrous these creatures are. And so, and then of course, in my case, I don't remember how many you saw when you went on yours, but there were 7 to 8 total gorillas in my grouping when I saw. So do you remember how many were with you?
Yes.
Mishka?
So my group actually saw the largest family. I think there's 20 in the actual family, but of the family, we had seen about 6 babies, a silverback, and then about 4 moms. So it was really jam-packed on my end with my group. And it's amazing how close you can get. I think that was what was really amazing for me. Like, I can't even figure out what word to use to describe it, but like, just to say, like, I'm standing here and over there's a gorilla, you know, like it was so amazing to just be in their space and them not worry about you at all. Like, some of them look you straight in the eye and you're like, is this thing gonna charge at me? And then you're like, no, they're just gonna walk away and like roll around in the trees and eat. And it's like we were just spectators in this beautiful interaction, and that's the way I saw it.
I definitely think that there is a beautiful, like a dance between us and them, where there's this mutual respect. And again, I'm going to go back to, you know, how the government has implemented these regulations to protect the gorillas, where you know, and I think over time they respect us, and then we're respecting them. And so it was this, like I said, this wonderful, beautiful dance where they were not that far away from us at any given point, and it was just so beautiful. I can't even. It's just, you know, I recently thought of this something that it's just something that I think about. It's the saying that I love to share with my students, and that it's through the world we understand. So, you know, if we just take the time to understand and just experience the world, then, you know, we can understand it, and it has so much value, whether it's for the people within it, the animals, the geography, you know, just everything.
Yes, I totally agree 100%. Whether it's from the conservation point of view, whether it's from, you know, just being there in the moment, I think that is also something very important. I was so in the moment that I didn't realize that a gorilla was going to walk past me. So what happened was, I don't know if I told anybody of this on the tour, but similar to how one of the baby gorillas touched Anna, I also got a really fun encounter with one of them. And I was standing and watching the family on the one side, and I didn't realize that there was another one on the side of me. And then I just heard it just plop onto the floor, walk up to me, and it touched my leg in like this banner of like, lady, can you please move? And then I moved forward, and then it just walked by. It was a little baby. And I was like, and then the guide, the head guide was like, you are eternally blessed. And I'm like,
Wow.
I will take it. I will take the eternal
Yes.
blessings of the baby gorilla.
Wow, that's a high honor there. Wow, yes, I think that you have there was definitely an attraction there,
I mean, we
you've
are
you
very, very much close, you know, we're close, like 98%, you know.
yes, yeah, that's right.
98% part of me is probably gorilla. It'll probably be with mom. But
I
those
agree.
are experiences that you just can't, there's no way to capture that. And like, obviously, it's not like I took out my camera and I was like, I was more just like, I'm going to move so that this baby gorilla can get past me. But I think there's something in those moments where maybe going back, you think to yourself, oh, I should have taken a picture. And then other moments you're like, but maybe it's just a moment that I needed for me, you know? I needed a moment for myself that I can go ahead and picture in my head because, you know, our brains are so great. You will always go back to certain memories. And being able to go back to that. Is there anything that you've ever encountered, especially on tour? Because obviously we want to talk about that, but like any moments where you didn't get to take a picture, but the moment still lives with you?
Well, you know, definitely there were many times when I was within the gorillas that yes, you know, could I have moved over a meter to my left or to my right, or oh, if those branches and that vine were not hanging right there, I'd have a great, you know, view and this and that, whatever. You know, you do reach this point where it's not important. You know, what's important is being there in the present, and that you just, you know, you celebrate that time that you're there, and it's okay. It's okay that, you know, there's a branch, or maybe the sunlight isn't perfect to get that great, wonderful, you know, National Geographic picture that you are getting. But no, it's you know, you'll get great pictures from whatever angle you're in, and I walked away with hundreds, but I definitely did reach a point where I had to just you know, stop, and then just and you know, look at, you know, the what I was focusing on with my eyes and not through my camera. And I have no regrets for that at all. You know, it was a nice balance. You know, that I had the digital component, and then I have the part that, you know, my eyes have recorded.
I know. I think when I came back from tour, I was going through my pictures and I'm like, oh, I feel like I did not take enough pictures. But I also felt like I remember one of my colleagues saying to me, just be in the moment. Sometimes it's not always about the pictures, and it's really just about the moment and understanding where you are, especially because it was my first time traveling outside of South Africa for the first time. So it was
Yes.
a really big thing for me. And having said that, you've obviously traveled a lot. And before, you know, becoming a consulate teacher, you were actually a mental health advisor. And what was the pivotal point that changed within you to be like, I don't really like, I don't want to be a mental health advisor anymore. I wanna travel the world and teach at the same time. Like, what brought you to that decision? It's always fascinated me, your whole story.
Well, you know, yeah, you're right. So I initially went to school to study psychology and counseling, and then upon finishing my education, I did go in and work as a mental health therapist. And so, although, you know, I reached a point in that a very short 3 to 4 years that I liked it. I just didn't love it. And so what I did was I went through this process where, you know, I needed to find a way to make it work. So I left working with adults, and I went to an agency where I was going to provide counseling services to children.
Mhm.
And then as I'm working, I began to feel this great sense of like, this passion that I had working with children. So then I thought, wow, I think really what I want to do is I want to be an educator. I want to be a teacher. So I went back to school to become a teacher, and then what I found out was that now this is my 29th year as an educator. I'm now finding that really. My counseling never was wasted away, because really, as a teacher, you are also a counselor too. So it wasn't something that I was able to just walk away from and then never dusted the certificate out of my closet. No, instead, as an educator, you are a teacher too. And so that was the direction that I went in, or how I got to be a teacher. And what I've really enjoyed is that, whereas before I was working as a counselor, it was one child at a time. And although that's wonderful, we can all change the world one person at a time. I guess I got a little greedy, or a little too over ambitious, because I thought, well, wait a second, if I can help one child to change the world, imagine what I can do if I had my own classroom of, say, 20 students. And that's what I've done. That's been my sort of mission, is that, before I was helping one child change the world, which was fine. It was great. But now I'm able to help, 20 children, all within the same within a school year's time, change the world. It is a better place for today, tomorrow, and the future. So hey, you know what? I feel like I scored either way.
Honestly, your entire approach is it's so heartwarming to see the impact that you want to make and continue to make on a daily basis. I mean, you said to me the other day that you've reached your goals, like financially and stuff like that. You've reached your financial freedom. You technically don't need to work, but you continue to work and I think this goes back to saying you're doing what you love. And what is the importance of doing what you love, whether it's for work, whether it's for personal growth, or even if it's just for travel? Like, I remember you saying that, you were with somebody who didn't want to travel. And you're like, well, I mean, if that's something you don't want to do, then I'm going to have to do it for myself. But again, what is the importance of doing what you love in all of those aspects?
Wow, this is a very, very deep and very personal question that I will tell you that in my work, my focus is, of course, to teach reading, writing, math, and of course the sciences. But something that I am also a huge proponent about is that I'm also teaching children how to be a good person, how to be a good citizen. And that's something that that I continue to do, because I'm very, very passionate about to teach all the core subject areas, but also the one about being a good citizen, being a good person. And so now I feel very fortunate that I'm in a position to be in this. I'm 54 years old, and I reached this point in my life where no, I don't have to work at this point. But I'm just not ready. I'm just not ready to let it go. I want to continue teaching the reading and the writing, the math and the science, and and of course how to be a good person. And that's what keeps me going, is that I'm still very passionate about the things that I am truly I truly believe have universal value. And so so there you go. That's my rationale for staying put, and that's why I keep teaching.
But that's really good. And would you ever consider, leaving, because you've been in Hong Kong now for what, 7 years teaching?
Yeah, 7 years.
7 years. Would you ever consider, going somewhere else, or are you happy to stay in Hong Kong now, feeling settled?
Wow. Well, I don't know if I told you this, but this is my 9th country to be working in. And I thought I thought that by the time that I reached, 54, 55, that I was going to leave teaching altogether and then pursue my dream of retiring in Portugal, which is, this dream that I have and I've had for a long time. But the thing is that I feel that right now, I still have the passion and the this wonderful affinity to my job and what I'm doing, and so that's meeting a great big need and want that I have. But then there's also these other aspects. I do love living in Hong Kong. I love the people and that the East meets the West, and it's like this phoenix rising out of the ocean, and Hong Kong just keeps rebuilding itself. I love the people that I've met. I love my outdoor group, my apartment. I feel very, very happy right now, and so I think that I will just cross that bridge when I get to it, and then pursue my next adventure. If there's anything that I know, is that we are all authors in our lives. We are all writing our chapters in our book of life, and this chapter isn't finished yet.
I mean, you're talking to a book girl, so you're speaking.
I know you are. Yes,
you're speaking my language now. And would you say that, obviously, you've got 54 years under your belt. You're definitely way more experienced than I have to say. But would you say that travel has been one of the key developers in your life, the key aspects of your life that has developed you into the person that you are and the person that you portray right now?
Absolutely, 100%. Because although I know that we can learn about the world through books, and through reading geography books, and and reading about political articles and whatnot about the world. Yes, that and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's something that happens when you can actually be in that place and be learning about that place. Whether it's the politics or religion, or about the food and the history, the dance or art or whatever it is. There's just it's authentic. And so those experiences, I believe, have really enriched my life and have catapulted it to this level that has enabled me to see the world so differently, and to be able to share it. This is really interesting. And I just remember the first time I went to Israel. This was several years. I went to Israel, and I was meeting people left and right, and I was like, wow, this is this is so different from some of the things that I'm reading, or some of the things that some people have said to me about visiting this particular country. I oftentimes in my lifetime have received feedback from people about places that I've been wanting to visit, and sometimes it's not good, and sometimes it's not good, and then I have to stop and go, wait a second, where is this even coming from? Oftentimes the information that I'm getting from people about places that is not in a positive light is they've never been there themselves.
Yeah.
It's like they write it, like on a Instagram or Facebook or whatever,
media, some news outlet, or
exactly. So for me to be able to go somewhere and to really, prove people wrong, and also to change my understandings and my perceptions, because whether we like it or not, we all have biases, and I am willing to put myself out there and challenge myself so that I can clear up misconceptions that I have, and then and then say, what, guess what, the people people, the Israeli people, were wonderful. Or when I went to Brazil, guess what? They were wonderful too. I went to, this place or that place, and nothing makes me more happier than returning and finding that person that gave me that kind of not so good information about a place that they've never even visited, but they were willing to tell me how bad it was.
Yes.
To say, hey, guess what? I had a great time. That I guess that's where remember how we first started talking about how I have a small
3% of badness.
The 3% of me that's kind of bad and naughty. That's where that comes out. And but you know what? It's so anyway, there you go. I'm doing a little bit of more revealing than I probably should. But nevertheless, it's okay. I'm okay with that.
That's okay. This is a safe space. I also just want to touch on, you saying that everybody has their own perceptions of a place. And then when the point is that you actually need to go there and experience it for yourself. We obviously have this as a big problem when it comes to places like South Africa and Africa as a whole. People have so many misconceptions, and things could go on in the media today, and a person was thinking of traveling to South Africa yesterday, and now all of a sudden something's gone awry, or there's some news in the media that has obviously been depicted in the worst way possible, and now they're like, oh, I'm canceling my trip to Africa, I'm not going at all. What would you actually say to people like that? Like, how, having been there yourself, what would you say to them?
Yes. Okay. So I have been in many situations like that myself. And so, you know what? Okay. No matter where you are, I mean, I live in Hong Kong, one of the most safest places where you can be. But nevertheless, crime still can happen here. It can happen anywhere. And so, definitely always, be on that alert. Always have it in your mind that it can happen anywhere. So be aware of your surroundings. This is like simple traveling 101. This is like traveling for dummies information I'm giving you right now. Where, like, be aware of your surroundings wherever you are. And then, make arrangements to, wherever you are to travel, to go from the airport to your hotel. If you're arriving late at night via a taxi versus, choosing to just walk out of the airport and walk to your hotel or wherever you're staying. These are just simple little things that people can do and to be safe. And and then when you arrive in a place, what I always love to do is I seek out, walking tours, and there are so many free walking tours all over the world, and meet those people, meet those guides, and then ask them and get input from them. They'll tell you where to go, where not to go, what to do, and what are the things that you shouldn't do. I think that having those sorts of things in mind and reaching out to the those groups is vital and very, very important. And so so I think that there, if I were to make a list of all the places that people told me not to go, I mean, I probably would have only visited maybe 4 places in that whole entire list of 90 plus countries.
Yeah.
And that would be a shame because, what, my goodness, I'm never going to visit Argentina and Brazil and Peru and Chile and South Africa and Egypt and Morocco. My goodness, I'd never go to Malaysia and Indonesia. And I mean, I could just go on and on and on. So exercise, safety wherever you are, and then organize things and until you become familiar, and then make a judgment based on that, not on some abstract message that you get from a friend like, oh, I heard that place is not some place that you should visit. Based on what? Where's, like, can you give me some information? Like, just tell me more.
Me real life facts. And I think that you've touched on a really important point, is the importance of, like, if you are doing group travel and things like that, the importance of your guide. Because I mean, without Richie and without Dingy, where would we have been in Uganda? Like, I mean,
right?
they told you the safest spot to go, or like, I mean, in my opinion, Uganda just seemed so safe everywhere. Like everyone was so friendly, everybody's so happy. But like, he would tell you the safest ATM to go to, or they'd take you to the closest town with the best supermarket, things like that. And that's the importance of those guides and what they do.
Yes, I agree. I think that those two gentlemen were so, they had such a great, wonderful working relationship that, and from what I heard from talking to the other travelers that were with us, that started before us, and they were with different guides, they echoed the same sentiment, that they felt safe and they received positive information about where to go, what to expect here and there and whatnot. And so I think that that's also very, very important, is that, you have guides that are familiar and knowledgeable, trustworthy, and that can give information to help, people like us that, don't necessarily, that may not be familiar with, what it is to travel in, in the bush and in the jungle and whatnot. So I felt very, very comfortable, and it made a huge difference in my comfort level for sure.
Awesome. Well, I think that we have come to the end, but just one more thing that I'd like you to share, if you wouldn't mind. To anybody who's considering African overlanding and just, being able to experience Africa, and they haven't experienced Africa before, but they've experienced other places. Give me one sentence that you would say to them that would convince them as to why they need to explore it. Come on, Malele, tell me.
You're good. Thank you. That is my that was my Ugandan name while I was in Uganda, Malele. And what the message that I would love to say to anybody, whether it's to traveling to anywhere in Africa or anywhere in the world, is this: if you're already thinking about doing it, your journey has already started.
Wow. And that is how we're going to end this webinar. That was amazing. Thank you so much, William. Thank you to all of the people who attended and sent us questions. If you have any other questions, feel free to contact me after the webinar, and I will do my best to answer them for you. The recording of the webinar will obviously be available a couple of hours later, and we will send the link to you as well. And I just want to thank everybody, and a special thanks to my friend William, who was so excited to do this. From the moment I saw him on tour, I was like, I want to do a webinar with you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
And wishing you all the best, and hit me up the next time you're in South Africa. I would love to meet up and grab a coffee, or maybe, who knows, I might be in Hong Kong one day.
You know what? I have a feeling that our paths will cross multiple times.
Amazing. Thank you, everybody, and have an awesome day. Good evening, William, on your side.
Take care, my friend. All right. Bye, everyone.